In 1930s Berlin, the trans community was welcomed. Then the Nazis, in 1930s Berlin, the trans community was welcome. Then the Nazis took over. In the fall of 2022, a German court heard an unusual case. It was a civil lawsuit that grew out of a feud on Twitter about whether transgender people were victims of the Holocaust. The court took expert statements from historians before finding that the historical evidence shows that trans people were indeed persecuted by the Nazi regime. In 1933, the year that Hitler took power, the police in Essen, Germany, revoked Tony Simon's permit to dress as a woman in public. Simon, who was in her mid-40s, had been living as a woman for many years. In Berlin, transgender people published several magazines and had a political club. Some glamorous trans women worked at the internationally famous El Dorado Cabaret. The sexologist Magnus Hirschfeld, who ran Berlin's Institute for Sexual Science, advocated for the rights of transgender people. The rise of Nazi Germany destroyed this relatively open environment. The Nazis shut down the magazines, the El Dorado, and Hirschfeld Institute. Most people who held certificates allowing them to present as the opposite gender, as Tony Simon did, had them revoked or watched helplessly as police refused to honor them. For a long time, the public didn't know the stories of trans people in Nazi Germany. Now, this is a little triggering for me because it kind of brings us back to today. It's often a largely group of people who often try to marginalize and erase the history of our trans siblings. And what this does is shows that not only were they affected, but they were actually living free and living their lives as if the world was theirs, openly and accepting. But it's always that small group of people who wants to come in and erase. Additionally, it makes me think about how black folks in America during the 1800s who had to walk around with papers in order for them to say they were free, in order to either go back into slavery times and or killed. And for these folks in Nazi Germany, if they didn't have that paperwork, imagine the crimes or the jail time that they commit and or murder.
Yeah, you know what the kicker is? After the Nazis were defeated, every part of the Nazi laws concerning the Nazi regime was removed, white, except the part about being LGBT. Being gay was criminalized as a felony in Germany until decades after the Nazis were gone. The rest of the allies continued their oppression, and our community did not get to commemorate our loss in the Holocaust and afterwards until much, much later.
I mean, it also goes to show you that we've existed for centuries, not just decades, but centuries throughout history. So it's not just a new phenomenon that, gays and lesbians and trans have just popped up in today's pop culture, but we've been here, we've been around, and we've been fighting all this time.
And we've been around forever, and we've been abused forever.
Yeah.
We have been one of the subcultures that are easy to single out and marginalize. Yeah, exactly. So and this just comes down to, and I don't know the full origins of the feud on Twitter or whatever, but it's clear it was started by some sort of Holocaust denier or, denying in some aspect of the Holocaust. These people are out there. The further away we get from the Holocaust, the louder their voice becomes. So please never forget.
I had an interesting conversation today in an interview with a lesbian Jewish singer. And one of the things that came up in conversation was the commercials. I know all of us have seen them about the anti-Semitic attacks that are taking place on Jewish people in America. And we had conversation about it because it's interesting in that the anti-Semitic attacks that are taking place on synagogues and the Jewish community is this phrase that you're seeing in spray paint and signs and marches by the Proud Boys, etc. Hitler was right. And they put it in quotation marks, and they sell this idea, which is very hateful and anti-Semitic, that he did the right thing. Well, our conversation focused on why isn't the LGBTQ community pouring in on that? Because when they're saying Hitler was right, that also meant killing queer people. And so as a result, we should stand with the Jewish community and saying we can never allow this to happen again. One other quick thought that I think is interesting. I can't imagine in 2015 when we got gay marriage in such a celebratory moment, of saying the word fascist in America. I don't remember thinking America was fascist. I didn't like X or Y or Z. Mitt Romney ran, John McCain ran, but I didn't think about fascism. And today, and this year in 2023, in my entire life, I have never heard the word fascist and fascism used as much as I have this year. That is an indication that historically our society and our country is moving in a dangerous way. And the first way that we do it is to verbalize, we see fascism. Don't you very much imagine that that's what they were thinking in 1938 and 1939 until it was too late. They talked about it and talked about it. They didn't stop it. And then the inevitable happened.
Now, you make a great point about why we're not jumping in and protecting our Jewish friends and family, because what they're doing is they're attacking us in segments. They came after the black folks, they came after our trans siblings, they're going after women, and then they're going after our gay folks. And so each community is fighting for their own survival. Yeah. Little do we all realize that the moment that we band together and make that strong fist, they attack them back or fight them back, is their strength.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right, I think, until we do that.
Yeah. We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show from Happening Out Television Network. In the model of PBS and NPR, we educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of the LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the stories going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.